to our fourth Tuesday forum here in the last week of November. You may be surprised to see me instead of Elisa if you are a regular attendee. She had a last minute situation occur and asked me to pinch hit today. So here I am and happy to be with you all. And thank you so much for coming. Following a busy holiday weekend, you have found time in your day to spend time with us, and we appreciate it. So with that, and with today's focus on employment and day services, I will turn the opportunity over to Amber, who will introduce the staff from the Employment and Day Services team and do a short presentation before we hear from speakers and get to questions and answers at the end. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a great pleasure to be with you today at our fourth Tuesday forum for the month of November. We have quite a robust and great afternoon planned for you with some very exciting guests who will share their stories. As the Commissioner mentioned, my name is Amber Carter. I'm the Director of Employment and Day Services. I am the Director of the Employment and Day Services Unit, but I tell you the wind beneath my wings are the four individuals who work with me, and that is Brian Gresko and Trever Rogers, and Darrell Spears, and Catherine, which we call Kate, DeStefano. Each of them are assigned to their various regions. Trever hails out of the Central Office region. Darrell is out of the North region. Brian Gresko is out of the South region, and Kate is out of the West region. And so I would like to turn it over to Kate now, who's going to walk us through today's actual presentation and share with you some of the highlights that we have for you today. And once again, thank you for your time and your attentiveness. Kate, it's all yours.
Oh, sorry, just unmuting. Okay, thank you, Amber. We have a fantastic presentation planned for today. The format is designed to provide some background information about DDS employment and pre-employment services, and then move on to personal stories of individuals who have successfully transitioned to employment. So let's get started. Today, we will take a closer look at the employment supports you see on the screen. We're going to start with self-employment. We will be highlighting micro enterprises with Darlene Boré from Futures, a DDS qualified provider. Next, we will transition to group-supported employment, and we will have a segment with Edwin, who is currently utilizing this service. We will move on to customized employment, followed by individual supported employment. We have Bree and Brent here today to discuss their employment experiences. Try not to say that 10 times fast. Next slide, please. Then we will finish the presentation with Project Search, a 9-month internship program. The goal of Project Search is competitive integrated employment. Sandy Finnemore, Project Search Manager for FAVAR, and Brett, a former Project Search intern, will be discussing the Project Search program at UConn Health. You'll see here that Employment Transition Services is another pre-employment service offered through DDS. We won't be specifically focusing on that one today. However, just know that many individuals transition from ETS to competitive integrated employment. Next slide, please. So portability, I often get asked this question, what if my provider is not a good match? Can I change providers? So the answer is yes, you have control over your supports and the funds used to pay for the services you receive. For more information about portability or to look up a list of qualified providers in your area and the services that they may offer specifically, you could refer to the portability fact sheet and the qualified provider list. They're both linked here, but I know that Trever is also putting all the links in the chat so that you can save them. Next slide. So transportation, another question as you move toward employment is how am I going to get there, right? So transportation is a service offered to help you to get to your place of employment or your community-based day supports. It can look different depending on the individual. Some individuals may use public transportation, which could include paratransit, which is door-to-door service. Other individuals may feel comfortable using Uber. Whatever the case, that is a service that is offered. And just so you know, DDS has formed a work group to explore different barriers to transportation and potential solutions. If you have interest in providing feedback, we would really appreciate it. Feel free to reach out to our team. Okay, BRS. I think it's important to include this slide because there are so many acronyms out there, and BRS comes up a lot, especially because DDS and BRS collaborate on employment initiatives, including customized employment. And also many students coming out of transition to adult services may have interaction with BRS. So let's just break this down a little bit. The Bureau of Rehabilitation Services falls under the Department of Aging and Disability Services, also known as ADS. ADS is the state vocational rehabilitation provider. They used to be called DOORS to make it more confusing. Their sister agency, BESB, is also under ADS. Okay, so BRS will assist individuals to obtain, maintain, and advance in competitive integrated employment. And BESB will do the same for individuals with visual impairments. If you need more information about BRS, that will also be linked in the chat and it's here on this slide. But you should also know that BRS has benefits counselors who can help you to understand potential impact to benefits once you become employed. Next slide, please. If you are a transition age student, typically this means you're between the ages of 18 and 22. I just want you to know that you can access the support of a DDS transition advisor. Transition advisors work closely with BRS to collaborate to help individuals with employment outcomes. There are 3 DDS transition advisors per region, North, South, and West. For transition advisor contact information, you can visit the website that's linked here in the chat. And from that website, you could find the transition advisor that is who is assigned to your region. And then the next slide is for employers and businesses. If you know of employers or businesses that would like to join the DDS list, we have included a link, or the QR code will send someone to that link. We also have created an incentive document for employers on the website. So employers can sign up using the QR code or the link, and you can also take a look at that incentives document on the website. So I'm going to be turning it over to Brian Gresko for a brief overview of self-employment options. But before I do, this is the EDS team at the Middletown Farmers Market. We were visiting Futures and their table of micro enterprises that were set up at the farmers market. And as you can see, we all left with a bag of something because that's how great their products were. So Brian, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. I love that picture because not only is it just a picture of smiling state workers, but I think you could get to see a little flavor of some of the good work that's being done there, and certainly a sneak peek because we'll in a moment have time to kind of let Future showcase some of the work that they're doing. But hello again, everyone. My name is Brian Gresko. I'm with the Employment Day Services team. One of the things that DDS recognizes is that employment can be a lot of things and mean different things to different people. While traditional employment, like working for businesses, be it retail or hospitality, or maybe even some other area, may work well for some, others may prefer to take an entrepreneurial approach. Small businesses can be a great way to for individuals to be a part of their local communities, as well as take control of their employment story. One way that DDS is committed to this idea is the innovative employment opportunity. It's also known as the IEO, so you might see that. That's what it references, which offers grant funds for small businesses that support the employment of individuals with intellectual disabilities. We currently have an iteration in progress with 18 awardees. The grant is actually I should say the grant is actually 2 grants. The first offers small seed money for individuals and families who have an interest in starting a small business, but they're not very far along in the process. So they just are looking for some seed money just to see if there's room to kind of move along with that venture. So for this current version of the innovative employment opportunity, these were awarded up to amounts of $4,000. So enough money to kind of take a look at to see if a business is worthwhile, maybe get things started, but not a tremendous amount of money. So just to consider that. The other grant awards, larger grant monies for businesses that either currently exist or like ready to begin. They would require a business plan and other supporting documents to show how the grant funds would be used to create employment opportunities for individuals. The max awarded funds for this current go round was $50,000. And just so people know, we are working on constructing the next release for the grant. So stay tuned. You can feel free to reach out to the Employment Day Services Unit. Myself in particular, also checking the DDS website. I'm sure once we have the notice of opportunity out, we'll be promoting it, but please keep an eye out for it. So here's the exciting part. Among those who have taken advantage of the innovative employment opportunity is Darlene Bore, who works with Futures on developing micro enterprises. They've done some really terrific work, and we're very happy to have them here to share their story. We're going to begin with 2 short videos, then move on to a conversation with Darlene, where she can kind of talk us through some of the work being done.
Okay, I believe I'm going to pick up here. Trevor, thank you for transitioning into the next slide. And this is the part where we just want to have an open conversation with Darlene from Futures. So Darlene, if you don't mind to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became connected with Futures. And then following immediately after that, if you could just talk a little bit about some of the examples that are represented on the screen.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, so my name is Darlene Bore. I'm wearing 2 hats, actually. I am a vocational innovator at Futures Inc., where I'm in charge of the microbusiness program. Futures Inc. is a nonprofit agency that provides day services for individuals with special needs. Futures Inc. is very innovative. They have a social enterprise called Good Cause Gifts that employs people with special needs. They run a cafe at the hospital for special care, and at the JCC, they have a commercial kitchen where they do catering and food readiness skills. And a few years ago, we started an employment experiment, and I'm going to tell you about that. The other hat I'm wearing is I have a son whose name is Ben. He just turned 22 and he has profound autism and he's nonverbal. So turning 22, he just entered the adult world. And so that's my other hat. So I really want to have him to have a purpose, and I want him and his community to know who he is, so that after someday down the road when I'm gone, people will care about him and have his back. And so when I think of competitive employment, you know, I'm not sure I saw a place for him as he's nonverbal. And I worry about, you know, what a day without employment would look like for him. So what I'm really encouraged about to see at DDS is that there's more choices and options that are being supported, and it's just more innovation and creativity and individualized programs, and programs like, you know, the one I'm about to talk about. So about a few years ago at Futures Inc., we started this employment experiment. So the first thing we did was we got to know roughly about a dozen adults with developmental and intellectual disabilities. And we created tiny businesses based solely on their passions and interests of each individual, regardless of their level of need. And the second thing we did was we elevated all of the businesses, all of the products and services, so that the marketing and the packaging matched the love and the joy that was put into each product. Did I freeze? Am I still going?
Nope, you're good.
Okay. And third, we reached out to the community to make them aware of the individuals and their small businesses. So months would be spent exploring ideas. How do I support a passion for dogs, for vintage cars, for eating? Doing research. Is this doable? And how would it look? And overcoming obstacles. How can I incorporate original artwork into the product? We had a community ribbon cutting for each business. There were newspaper articles, t-shirts, business cards for everyone. A real sense of purpose for each person began to emerge, and people would go to bed thinking of ideas. And for those people with severe disabilities, staff became detectives. How can we positively impact this person's quality of life? So for example, Stephen, one of our entrepreneurs, spent many years living in a place where he had little control over what he ate. And so when I sat down with Stephen and said, what do you want to do for your business? He definitely wanted to do something with food. And so we started talking about creating a secret sauce as his product. We spent a lot of time doing taste tests, working with ingredients, working with our commercial kitchen chef, and coming up with different versions of a secret sauce until he was satisfied. He wanted his picture on the label, so that was really part of what he wanted to do. He was very involved in naming his business, as everyone, all the entrepreneurs are. It's a real part of the process because it's your business. It's what you really are. It's all about you and what you see as your business. So at the ribbon cutting ceremony for Stephen, he said, I'm proud of myself. I wished for this day for a long time, and it actually came true. If it wasn't for y'all, I wouldn't be here today. I want everyone to know that. Y'all family, that's it. And it became really, these ribbon cuttings actually became really emotional. And I didn't expect that. And it was just really nice. Another person I worked with was Sarah. She really loved dogs. And at first, we were thinking of making some kind of dog food or something in the kitchen, but she does not like wearing gloves. And so that's another part of the businesses is really, you got to think about what you want to do all day. And so if you don't like wearing gloves, you're not going to want to work in the kitchen. And so the beautiful thing about these businesses is it's really flexible about what, not only what your passion is, but also what do you want to do all day? Do you want to stand? Do you not want to stand? Do you want to be out in the community? Would that be overwhelming for you? You know, there's so many factors that go into building these businesses. So with Sarah, she started making dog-shaped soaps. And since she's vegan, we did some research and we created a vegan soap for her, and she mixes the colors and she adds the gentle scents, and strong scents bother her. And she sells that now at the Next Chapter bookstore in West Hartford and also at Good Cause Gifts. And she's doing more of that. She's starting to do now bridal and baby shower favors with dog bones and dog biscuits, and so that now that part of the business is taking off. So it's great to see some of these businesses expand also. Another example is Toby. Toby was frustrated that people in his town fed bread to geese because bread is nutritionally bad for birds. And that is something that we learned as we talked to Toby. Toby has great skills with research. So he did a lot of research on this, and we created Goose Grub, which is a bread alternative to feed the birds, which contains mealworms and seeds. Another one of the businesses is Marilyn. Marilyn had a recycling business, but she was uncomfortable walking into new businesses. It was just very intimidating for her. And so we worked together with her to create a flyer where she could, and flyer, magnets. It has original artwork from her on it. And she would walk into the businesses with this flyer, and that way she could communicate on her own terms. And the flyer had all the information about her recycling business. And we decorated recycling bins with the name of her business, which is called Happy Botellas. And botellas is Spanish for bottles. And so that name of the business was really important to her. And at her ribbon cutting ceremony, it was also really emotional. And she said, I'm crying because I'm so happy and proud. So she's been doing that for a while now, and she decided she wants to look into it.
You're muted, Darlene.
Okay, Marilyn's going to be doing a candle business next because she's really excited to start a new business. So that's going to be her next venture.
That's excellent. Now, if I could just ask you very quickly,
Yeah.
Your perspective is very unique because you have a parenting perspective and then you also have the perspective of the provider. So if you could provide any type of advice to parents or providers who are looking to support individuals when it comes to micro businesses and entrepreneurship, what exactly would you tell them?
I would start by saying, be a good listener and really listen to what the individual is passionate about, because sometimes it takes a little while to figure that out because a lot of people want to please, but you'll know you're on the right track when that person is going to bed thinking of these ideas and they come in with all sorts of ideas, and it gets very exciting because not only is this a good idea for the individual, but it's also for the staff. When you have an individual lighting up with these ideas, it really energizes a staff, and the staff comes up with great ideas too. So we always have trouble with staff retention, and I think it really helps to get them as involved as they are in these businesses. All the individuals that I work with require one-to-one care, and so the staff is very involved in what we're doing. But another thing I would say to different agencies is that everyone can work. Everyone can be employed.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
And Darlene, I'm glad you brought that up because I think you'd mentioned it earlier. I just don't want it to get lost that the individuals that have these micro enterprises have significant challenges. Could you go through like just kind of what the average lawn number for the individuals who own their businesses is? And kind of just maybe like explain just kind of the supports that go around it. But it's from our perspective as an agency that's challenging ourselves to just like as you said, work can be for anyone. We're trying to challenge ourselves to create more pathways for folks. So anytime we see somebody carrying the banner forward, it's inspiring. So love to hear a little bit more about, specifically like what lawns you're hearing, because I think there are people out there that might say, my son or daughter has a lawn 6 or 7, and, employment's just not in the cards. But I know that you've had some success there. So love to hear about it.
Sure. Yeah, I think a lot of people on this board are 6 and 7s and 8s. In fact, I was going to just go to check out one of our gang right now and see what they're working on. But in general, it's really about I look at it like this, to be honest. Someday I'm not going to be here, and I want to be sure that somebody has my son's back, like everyone, like all parents have that thought. And so I wanted to make each individual mini celebrities in their own communities. And so everybody on this sheet is selling products in their communities, and we've had events in their communities. We're involved in the farmers market. And so we're really getting embedded in the community so that they're rooting for us. And when you have somebody rooting for you like that, it really makes life a lot less lonely. So for example, I'll take my son Ben. So he's a level 8. That's as high as you go. He has behaviors. He is, especially when he's nervous. And so we really had to do things on his level. So the one skill of his that he can do is he can shred paper, and he doesn't get frustrated. He puts one page in at a time. It would just make me crazy, but he can do that, and it's very calming to him to put a paper in. So we saw that as a real strength. So I would say first thing you do is you really look at what are some strengths? What does the person enjoy doing? Is there something that they like to do? And then we're going to build off of that. We're going to find a way to make that really work for them. And so with the shredded paper, we are able to make fire starters, shreds fire starters, combining that with sawdust and wax. And he's able to make the fire starters as his project. That actually has led to a new thing, and I can show you that in a little bit, that he can now is getting more confident with his job skills. And so now he's working on care packages where he's putting items into a care package, which he's going to be marketing. Another one would be, let's see, Katie. I don't know if I should disclose all the levels of need of the individuals, but each individual here needs one-to-one, and one of her skills was mixing colors, and she makes her own colors, and so that was something she could sit and do hours and really enjoy. And so we've turned that into her soap making business. Angela would love to play cards, but did not really enjoy being out in the community as much, and so she sells a deck of cards. She has fine motor problems, so she was challenges. So she also sells hands-free card holders to hold your cards. So sometimes you take something that might be a challenge for someone and realize, a lot of people have trouble holding cards, so kids and the elderly. So something like that is something we can all learn from.
Excellent. Thank you so much. For the sake of time, we will transition into the next phase of the forum that we have for today. But is there anything you'd like to say as we transition into the next slide?
I just appreciate the opportunity. And I think something like this could also involve partnering with local colleges and universities, local entrepreneurs. I think you could really bring in community to help partner with a lot of these programs. And I think that could be a model for Connecticut.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, Darlene. We really appreciate you being here today and talking about the micro businesses at Futures and even your own personal experience as well with your son.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Next slide, please. So I'm not sure if I introduced myself before, but again, my name is Darrell Spears Jr. I am with the Employment and Day Services Unit. And in this particular slide, we're going to talk about group-supported employment. I'm very happy to talk to you about group-supported employment today because out of my team, I had suggested that we cover this particular service. And so the individuals that you see on the screen are some champions of group-supported employment who are going to share their success stories and why they're a star. And we are lucky enough to have one here with us today by the name of Edwin. And so we'll get to the interview with him a little bit later, but we'll start off with the definition and talk a little bit about what group-supported employment is. So group-supported employment is much like individual-supported employment, which is something that we'll address a little later in the presentation. But this particular support is obviously in a group setting. Group-supported employment is also known as GSE, so you'll hear it referred to as that. Individuals may need or benefit from employment supports in a group setting. Typically, the job coach or employment specialist provides instruction and support in a group modeled way or fashion. Individuals may have peer-to-peer coaching or tasks that are connected to what one of the other peers, one of the other workers is doing, in turn helping them to gain skill. Once an individual is one step closer to being more independent, provider agencies are incentivized and encouraged to transition those individuals into individual supported employment, which is also known as ISE. These supports may be provided in a facility or community-based environment. The focus is to develop meaningful, useful skills for the workforce, community, and for their social lives as well. In some GSEs, individuals can be stationed anywhere throughout the employer, working near workers without disabilities, and/or some cases use small congregate settings, again, with goals and objectives gearing towards inclusion and integration. Individuals have engaged in mobile work crews where individuals in GSE perform work in a variety of different locations and visit different work sites during the day with their employment staff or supervisor. Next slide, please. So on this slide, we're going to highlight two individuals who have been stars in group supported employment. I reached out to some provider agencies just to get some feedback on some of the people in group supported employment who have success stories and who have worked really hard. These individuals are from Sarah Inc., one of our qualified providers. On the left, we have Whitaker, who is employed at the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. His working title is environmental worker, and his job coach name is Elisa. And so some of the strengths of Whitaker would be he's a very meticulous cleaner. He cultivates relationships with his colleagues, whether it be those in his group or other workers who are non-disabled within that place. He embraces new challenges and is very resilient, adaptable, and passionate about the work that he does. And so his job coach says that Whit is nothing short of a breath of fresh air. And then on the right side, we have a gentleman by the name of Mike. He is employed at Welling Engineering. His job position title is independent contractor. He's been employed for 4 years, and his jobs coach name is Salon. And so if you see on the side, it says that second chances are possible. And I think that just speaks to the growth and the movement and the different transitions that Mike has made to get himself where he is in the position that he has. Some of his strengths and skills, he's very conscientious, determined, and dedicated. He's very skilled at sorting, which is some of the duties that he does at Welling Engineering. He interacts respectively with his coworkers. Again, that would be the ones in the group setting, and then also those who work in the building who may not have disabilities. And he's very good at task sharing, which is one of the skills that individuals may learn or develop while in group supported employment. Next slide, please. So at this time, we're going to have Edwin, who is an employment all-star for group supported employment. He is here with us today. We're very happy to interview him. Edwin, we are going to start with some of the questions that we prepared for you, okay?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Cool. So before I get into the questions, I just want to make reference to Edwin and to everyone here. Some of the things that Edwin is going to be talking about is listed on the screen. Feel free to read through that and get to know who Edwin is as he is speaking to his experience. So Edwin, could you tell us a little bit about where you work and what are some of the things that you do there?
He pulled all the strings, the puppy eyes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Edwin. Hold on one second. We just have to mute someone. Okay, there you go.
Can I start now?
Of course.
Yes. Actually, I work for the company's called Chart Training. I've been working over there almost like 13 years. 12 years or 13 years, and I love my job. It's a company. I work in the grocery store in Westley. It's a grocery store with my grades. I know the owner. He's a really nice guy. For 3 days in the week, and I work in Village Market and Ledger 2 days and 2 days for week.
Excellent. And I think that's super cool that you have 2 jobs in which you're able to split your time, which in turn, puts you at a higher level of inclusion and getting to know some of the different people in those communities and who you work with. What is one of your favorite things that you like to do at work, or what is one of your most favorite parts about the job?
My motivation right now for work is go see my employers and stocking work and fixing cars, cleaning. I'm doing cleaning too. I do a lot of cleaning. I do a lot of cars. I do a lot of stocking, fixing cars, and all that kind of good stuff.
Okay. So just curious, out of cleaning and out of stocking, which one do you like the best?
I like stocking better because it's more. I think it's more cool job to do for me, for myself. I've been doing stocking for years, for a long time.
Okay. Now tell us a little bit about who Edwin is. Talk to us about some of the things that you like to do when you're not at work, some of the things you like to do in your free time.
Well, I love go to the gym. I like work out. I want to be a bodybuilder. If I can, I'm trying my best I can. I mean, I've been eating healthy and all that stuff. I love play video games, hang out with friends. Well, I have my best friend who I hang out with.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And I love the point that you made about a goal of yours is to be a bodybuilder. And
Yeah.
what you're doing right now to work towards that is eating good, clean eating. You know, that's one of the things that you have to do to work towards your goals. So it's awesome
Yeah.
that you've identified things to help you along the
Well,
way.
yeah. Sorry.
Now, are you into any sports? Do you have a favorite team?
Well, yeah, I have a favorite team. I love basketball. My favorite team is Golden State, the Warriors, for Golden State for
Okay.
basketball.
Now, tell me a little bit about some of the things you do with your money. When you get your paycheck, what are some of the things you're looking to do?
I love saving money. I'll be honest to you. I love saving money. I like go shopping. I like buy video games. I like buy my well, actually with my money, I just the money I get saved. I got my own apartment. I buy my own car. I got my own license. I have a lot of good stuff. You know,
That
I want more stuff, but I have to work more hard and get more money and save it.
exactly. And I think that that's something that we all can attest to, working hard and trying to get where we want to go. And just from the list of your fun facts, I mean, you have accomplished a lot. You should be very, very proud of yourself. One of the things
Yeah.
that I do want to point out is how when you came to the United States, you really didn't know English. And so that was a barrier for you. And that was something that you had to learn.
Well,
And now you're bilingual, which gives you, you know, a lot of leverage into working and positions and being able to speak two languages.
oh yeah, that's pretty awesome. I mean, speak two languages is amazing. Because you make friends that speak English and you make friends that speak Spanish. It's pretty cool. Like right now, I use my Spanish to play with to talk to my parents, my family, and I use my English to talk to my job coach and friends at work and the owners for the places.
Excellent, excellent. You should be very, very proud of yourself. That's an excellent skill set to have, and it makes you very, very valuable. And that's why you're one of our employment all-stars. I only have one more question for you. So
Yeah, sure.
if you could just tell if you know there was someone who your job coach said, "Hey, Edwin, I'm going to get a new, you know, person who's looking to be employed." What advice would you give them? What would you say to encourage them when it comes to
Well,
employment?
for advice, I told the person it's about just where about save money, nowhere about just concentrate on your job and work for. If you want to get something, you gotta work for. You gotta work hard. If you want to get a truck, you want to get your own apartment, you gotta work for. You know, that's no matter what. You gotta learn how to work and save money. Because if you don't save money, I don't think that's impossible. Those dreams. Yeah,
That is
I don't think that's
excellent
impossible to get a
advice.
pickup truck. I don't think I don't think it's impossible to get a pickup truck because pickup truck those days now is so expensive. It's more than $20,000 and it costs a
Right.
lot of money.
Yes,
You
and you
know.
definitely have to save your money. I would totally, totally agree with that. You did
Yeah.
a great job at answering all the questions that I have for you today. I hope that everyone here got to know you and got a better idea as to who you are and the hard work that you've dedicated to your jobs and some of the benefits that you've been able to maintain through that. Yes, I agree. You do deserve a round of applause. And so as we get ready to transition into the next part of what we have here today, Edwin, I want to personally tell you, thank you very much for being here. And we
Awesome.
are
Awesome.
very,
Thank
very
you.
lucky to
Thank you.
have heard your story.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening to me and hear
Of
my
course.
history. Thank you
Of
guys.
course, of course. Okay, I believe that that concludes my part for right now, and I'm going to transition it into the hands of my colleague, Trevor Rogers.
Thanks, Darrell. So I'm going to be taking some time today to talk about customized employment services. We will not have an individual who's going to be coming and talking about this particular topic, but we are going to keep it shorter. And the reason for that is because customized employment is our newest employment service model with DDS, as well as the Department of Aging and Disability Services, which Kate brought up earlier. And so I'm just going to give a little bit of information about customized employment. So customized employment is an alternative method of finding competitive integrated employment that meets the interests, skills, abilities of the job seeker and the unmet needs of the employer. It's highly structured and it follows a specific process that's carried out over time. And I'm going to put in the chat our newly released customized employment brochure, which speaks to the service a little bit better, but I'm going to talk about some of the differences. So customized employment, like I said, is new for ADS, DDS, and most of our provider agencies. And the main difference is that staff need to be certified in order to provide the service, and the service presumes that all individuals can work. It's designed to ensure that the process is job seeker driven and that the job seeker is going to be controlling where we're going in the process. And another piece is that it requires a lot of participation of family, friends, the individual's personal network, and all the different significant individuals in their life. Now, on the screen are a lot of our different DDS services and ADS services. And as you can see with the DDS services, we've already gone through some of the different options available to individuals. And so customized employment is a good strategy for individuals who need more intensive supports than a typical individualized or group model, or might need a little bit more intensive discovery strategies. And it's also effective for individuals who might have some complexities that make it difficult to utilize some of our traditional strategies, but that does not mean that you need to go through a certain pathway. There's no specific pathway to customized employment, but instead it's an option that's available for individuals who have tried some of our other services and they really need that customized approach to get competitive integrated employment. And so how customized employment works is it's 3 phases. And the first phase is discovery. It's all about getting to know the job seeker, and there's no job development that occurs in this phase. It's going to be the certified staff and the job seeker going out into the community, interviewing family, friends, personal circle, and going out and maybe participating in a community group or an event that the individual goes to try to build a holistic profile and learn what that individual wants to do and what their goals are. The next phase, job development, negotiation, and placement, will be the certified staff and the job seeker working with different businesses in the community, and there will be 3 different vocational themes that are identified. And these 3 themes will be explored, and the job seeker and the certified staff are going to go to businesses in the community that the job seeker has access to, and they're going to try to uncover some of those unmet needs, interviewing the employer, the staff, doing a walkthrough to try to get a little bit more information on the business, because the final piece is that negotiation, where we're going to try to pull some job duties from one job and create a really specific customized job that's carving out a specific job. It's not usually a job that existed beforehand. A lot of times there's a few different job duties within a business, and maybe some of them are job duties that didn't exist beforehand, but the business has a real need for certain things. And so we pull together different duties from all different pieces of the business to try to create a job that's going to meet the individual's likes, dislikes, or their likes, strengths, skills, and abilities, but also the unmet needs of the employer. And then the post-employment supports are any of those ongoing and on-the-job supports and training that might be necessary. And the goal is to transition to that competitive integrated employment placement. And that may mean having natural supports. It may mean transitioning to an individual supported employment or ISE placement so that job coaching is available on the job. But the only goal is that competitive integrated employment, however it looks for the individual. And if you think that this service might be a good option for you, please check out the brochure that I shared in the chat, and also reach out to your case manager, because for all of our services, that is the first way to get things started, is to reach out to your case manager. And so I am going to do a quick overview as well of individual supported employment, also known as ISE. Some people know it as SEI. And we're going to interview Bree and Brent, who both have some great success stories in ISE. But before I turn it over to my team, Bree and Brent, I am just going to do a quick review of what individual supported employment is. So individual supported employment can look at a couple different ways, and it may mean assisting individuals in finding and applying for jobs. It could be supporting the individual in their work setting, or job coaching once work is secured. The service is not meant to be provided ongoing or long term as a one-to-one support, but it's there to help the individual learn the service and provide any ongoing job coaching needs. And as you can see on the slide, who is a good candidate for ISE? Any DDS individual who is interested in competitive integrated employment, regardless of their current service type, can look into ISE. And we do have incentives that help with our providers to make transition from one service to an ISE service possible. I'm going to put in the chat our ISE brochure, which gives a little bit more information. And then I'm going to turn it over to the fun part, and I'm going to ask Bree to come on and introduce herself.
Hi guys, my name is Bree. I work for the Department of Developmental Services in the West Region Waterbury office. I started out as a general worker, working here, I think 2014 as a general worker, and I had supported staff with me 5 days a week, 5 hours a day, and I gradually worked my way up to full-time clerk typist, and now I only have staff 2 days a week for 5 hours a day. And I couldn't be any happier than where I am working now.
That's fantastic. So can you describe a little bit about what your day looks like when you're at work?
Sure. So a few of the main things that I do for my job is I'm the main person who answers the phone for this office, the main line. I also am in charge of all the machines here, updating them, contacting the correct people to come fix it. I'd open the US mail and I distribute the mail. I help wherever help is needed. I help with the PrAC department. I help with resource management. Wherever the help is needed is where I am at.
Hi, Bree. Can I ask you a question? It's Kate.
Of course, Kate.
So I'm wondering, what makes you happiest about going to work? What do you look forward to?
I look forward to the my coworkers and knowing that where I am at in my job. We support the people like me, and so I know that I will never be judged or looked at differently for me working where I am.
That must make for a very comfortable working environment.
It sure does.
That's great. And then one other question, because you did mention that you started with sort of more support on the job with job coaching, and you faded down now to 2 days. So how do you determine when you need the support, and what would it be for, if you can give an example?
So, of course, I can give many examples. One example would be dealing with difficult parents or difficult people wanting gratification immediately, or they want it and they want it now. And sometimes I have a hard time, I wouldn't say balancing the phone call, but taking a different demeanor and reassuring them that somebody will get back to them. It may not be right now, but someone will get back to them. And let's see, some jobs that I have, I just need a little simplification, if you will. And so I need a little bit more of a redirective or an easier way to do something rather than how I'm doing it. Like right now, I'm doing a huge project by packing up some files in 11 boxes that are supposed to be shipped to the storage center, the library. And we have been repacked them twice, and now we had to unpack them to pack them the way that they wanted them packed.
So it sounds like you're able to determine and advocate for when you need the support with certain tasks there.
Oh yeah, I went from 3 days a week because we're teleworking. So I went from 3 days a week working with staff to now down to 2 days a week. And everybody says, "Oh, you're so good, you don't need staff." But if you see some of the things that I do here, you would be like, I need staff myself to help me through this difficult problem.
Well, it's working for you, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's important.
Yep.
And if I could just say, I can totally attest to some of the work that Bree does. I have just recently relocated my office, but prior to where it is now, I was in Bree's building, and I never knew that Bree had staff. And Bree is very precise about the work that she does. I came into work with emails from her like, listen, I need to drop something off to your desk. When are you going to be there? Or, she'll email me and say, I dropped something off, just an FYI. And so, Bree, has always been a pleasure to work beside you. I am just curious to know, though, what are some of your dreams and aspirations? Like, where do you potentially see yourself going beyond this position?
So our self-determination director, who has recently retired, Bethora Miller, she saw me as a great advocate because I can advocate for myself and for other peers and individuals like me. And so she said that I would be a great self-advocate, except there's no moving up on the ladder with that position. And so she wanted me to move up because I am capable of doing a lot more things than I was when I was a general worker. I had to find work when I started working here, and nobody knew the capabilities that I was able to do. And now they all come to me.
That's excellent. I have no doubt that you are going to get very far in your employment journey. This is literally just the beginning. And
Yes.
the way how hard you've worked and the way in which you believe in yourself and can advocate for yourself, I know that you will definitely climb the ladder of success. Now that we've talked about some work related stuff, let's get to know a little bit more about Bree. Like, what are some of your accomplishments? What are some of the things you like to do with all of that state money that you earn?
So I like to go shopping. I love to dine out. We are trying to save to buy a house and get out of the renting industry. So some of my money is going there. I started out to become a swimmer for Special Olympics in Waterbury. I have never swam before. I started out as a smoker swimming, and I was only getting ribbons at first. And as I build up my endurance and I quit smoking, I have placed first place in all 3 of my events.
Excellent. That's very nice. Um, I could go for some swimming lessons myself, but that's
You could
probably
talk
a
to Gene
conversation.
Stack about that.
Okay. That's definitely a conversation for another day.
Yep.
But I'm so most glad that we interviewed you, and you are such an employment star for the department, and we're all very, very happy to have you as a colleague. Kate, am I missing anything? Is there anything that you want to
No,
add
I
in?
would just say, Bree, you may want to check out the chat because you've been getting some high praise there. You can
Oh
see what everyone's
boy.
been saying while you've been speaking. But thank you so much, Bree, for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay, next slide. Brent. We have
Hi.
hi, Brent. We're very glad you could be here.
Thank you.
Kate, do you want to start this one off?
Yeah, Brent. So
Hi, Kate.
we've met before and we learned
Yes.
quite a bit of interesting things about you
Yes.
and your journey to employment.
Yes.
I do know that you work at Ace Hardware.
I do.
So would you be able to tell us just a little bit of sort of what your day looks like when you arrive, what
Yes.
you start doing as soon as you get there?
Sure. So I clock in at 8 o'clock. I have I get everything all ready. My backpack I put in the closet. Get my radio out in the cabinet, put my headset in, and then I see if anyone needs help or I check to see if we need anything, stock it. And yeah.
And I understand you have a piece of equipment
Yes.
that you've really become an expert using.
Yes.
And what is that called?
It's a walkie-talkie, but it's like a headset that hooks up to your ear.
And then what is that?
So
Go
that
ahead.
So that communicates to all our employees around the store, so we don't yell across.
So if someone communicates with you and says, "Hey, Brent, do we have any more shovels?" What do you do?
I go down, I can go check and let them know on the headset.
But is there
Or-
another way that you can check besides?
Yes, I can scan it using my phone.
Okay, that's what I think we talked
Oh.
about, that you are really good at using that scanner to check inventory.
Yes,
And I think you said that was one of the things you like most about the job.
yes.
Right.
Because
So,
believe me, it's hard to trying to find the product.
right. So it's handy to learn how to use a scanner and be able to look up if it's there and where it is.
Yeah.
And you've managed to really learn that system is what it sounds like.
Yes.
Which is great. Now, another question I have. So I know right now you're not utilizing any job coaching, right?
Correct.
Is that correct? So you've sort of transitioned to natural supports, meaning
Yes.
the people that also work at ACE, your coworkers. If you have a
Yes.
question, you can
I
turn to a
asked my
coworker.
coworker.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what is something that you look forward to every day when you go to work?
My coworkers, they make my day. Seeing my coworkers, making money, and it's close to home, and the hours are good, and I don't work on weekends.
So that's important to you, not working on the weekends. Because I know you have other things you like to do.
Yes.
And maybe you want to talk about that. I understand you have a Facebook radio show.
I do.
How did that come about?
So it was, how would I put it? So I have a friend who's on Country 92.5. He's Damon Scott. He's Damon originally it was Damon and Corey. Now it's Damon and Amanda Joe in the morning. So I followed Damon, and now I have my own radio show on Facebook. It's WBJB 101. I enjoy playing the country music and oldies from the 60s and 70s. And right now, I'm starting up Christmas music. So,
I like that. It has a seasonal twist.
yes.
All right, Darrell, do you have anything to ask?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you have to know a lot about that field to, keep up with what's marketable at that time and making sure that you're keeping up with the seasons and you're playing things um, according to the season. And so, if I'm not mistaken, very similarly to Edwin, you have this radio show because it connects to your dream job and what you would like to do. So could you tell us a little bit about what exactly is your dream job and how doing this is preparing you for that?
So my dream job is to become a disc jockey at a radio station in Hamden or Hartford or anywhere really. But I'm looking at possibly of going to a broadcasting school.
Wow, that would be phenomenal. And I feel like that's new news to us. You didn't even share that with us before.
Yeah.
So that's excellent. Bringing in an educational component to help fulfill your dreams is great. And I think that if I could just leave with one thing, because music is so diverse and it goes across many different cultures and people, please tell us some of your favorite country artists that you like to play on your show.
So I like Keith Urban and Luke Bryan.
Excellent. So Brent has shared his favorites with me before, and I've shared with Brent that I am a huge Shania Twain fan. Definitely one of the best country singers ever. And so, that's a little connection that we share about country music. But Brent, thank you so, so much. Your story is unique, just like the rest. And we are very, very happy to have had you today talk about what you're doing for work now and how you're pursuing your dream and things that you're doing to do that and what are some of the things you like about your current job. And so on behalf of Employment Day Services, we're very thankful that you were able to be here today and share your story.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brent.
You're most
Thank
welcome.
you.
Okay, I am now going to pass it to our colleague, Brian Gresko.
Sure. So again, Brian Gresko, and I'm a little bit biased because I'm the statewide coordinator for Project Search. So this is always like a topic that I get really excited about talking about. I was actually meeting with some case managers in the Newington office this morning, and it's me talking for a half hour or so, and I promised them that the second showing would be much better than the matinee because I would be doing as little talking as possible and leaving it to the professionals. And so I'm very happy to say that we do have Sandy Finnemore, who oversees the Project Search program for FAVAR. That is our our flagship Project Search program. It's the first one that came. They were the ones that brought Project Search into Connecticut. They've been around for about 8 years. They have really good track record of employment for individuals. It will also have an opportunity for an individual to shine a little bit who had recently graduated. I will say, good for him, is that it's kind of one of those like bad news, good news things where he got called into work. So he won't be in here in person, but Sandy and Brett were gracious enough to put together a little video. And having talked to Brett even just last week when we were prepping for this forum, his personality shines through. I think you get a really good sense of his experience as a project search and a good sense of his personality as well. So I'm very excited to give them an opportunity to talk about project search. I'll go through very quickly because I know we're up against the clock a little bit. I will give like 30,000 foot view of project search and then hand it over to Sandy, and then we'll show a video with Brett, and I think that'll be kind of where we end up. But Project Search, it's been around for almost 30 years. It was founded in 1996. out of Cincinnati Children's Hospital. I think when it was founded, it was never really intended to become this huge franchise that it has become. But the model that they created was so effective, and it just kind of mushroomed. So I should actually go back to the old slide. Thank you. So so they have over 700 sites in about 48 states. They also have programs abroad. So we have programs in Europe. There are programs all over the place. So there are many programs. One of the good things about Project Search is they do have strong fidelity to the model. Again, I look at them as kind of like a franchise. They're very protective of their model, and they do send folks out who are attached to the national team who have a lot of oversight of the programs. They're keeping track to make sure that things are done the Project Search way. Project Search was really in Connecticut. It's really been championed by DDS, which is a little different than how it's done on the national scene. In most other states, Project Search is really built out for transition age students. So that 18 to 22, I guess you could say up now 23 age group. In Connecticut, just the way things kind of developed was DDS really had a strong presence. So there is a strong adult age programs for Project Search in Connecticut. So that in a certain way, that's a good thing because it offers internship opportunities for folks that are 23, 24, 25, 26, depending on different programs and where they are. It can even go a little bit higher than that. But many of the programs in Connecticut also offer internship opportunities for student age interns as well. So just keep that in mind, that while we talk a lot about Project Search at DDS, there's certainly other pathways to it, including referrals from school districts. And we've been seeing that school districts have been becoming more and more, I won't even say receptive. I'm going to say they've been reaching out, inquiring about Project Search as part of their transition programs. It's a 9-month program. And again, since it is really tailored for that school age population, it kind of follows the school year. So beginning in September, ending in June. And it really, in a certain, and I'll let Sandy she can probably speak to this a little better than me, but it really is 3 micro internships. And the way the program is designed is you have a provider agency such as Favar that would link up with a larger business such as Yukon Health. Those are businesses that typically have a lot of employees and a lot of departments, so that the interns have many different opportunities to try different things in terms of internships. So they'll have opportunities to talk about. Well, Sandy will talk about some of the different departments that you could be involved with in Project Search. But like for hospitals, environmental services, we have folks that work in the OR. There are folks that work in sterilization, folks that do that work in the lab. They're doing, it's all levels. So there's some things that are entry level internships, and then there's actually some more nuanced skills that are being developed with Project Search that tend to carry over pretty well. I'll say that Project Search numbers, they're right around just below 75% of interns that graduate from Project Search end up having employment. In Connecticut, our numbers are a little bit better. We're about 79.8% of our interns over the last 5 years have found competitive employment upon completion of Project Search. Here's just a little map. You can see last year we had 8 programs for Project Search in the state, 1 on hiatus. We currently have 13. One on hiatus. We're expecting to have at least 3 more programs. We had 4 programs join this year, and we were actually looking to have up to 3 programs possibly be joining us for the 24-25 year. We're just finalizing some things. So it is growing. As you can see, there are some areas where we're very well represented, and there's some areas where there's not Project Search programs present. We're really trying to make sure that if you're interested in Project Search, that we can get one reasonably close to you. It's a tremendous program. There is a contact list. We do have Project Search on our DDS website, and there we have a page for it. I'm sure we can put it in the chat for everyone if they're interested in visiting it. There is a section where you can go, and where it has a contact list for everyone for the various programs, and you can actually go on each program's their own Project Search web page, and you can visit and really get a sense for each program. I'm going to now hand it over to Sandy and give her an opportunity to talk about her program. And she has a lot of success, a lot to be proud of. And then maybe she could just kind of segue and tell us a little bit about our friend Brett, and then kind of get us into that, and we can showcase his video.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sandy Finnemore. I'm the manager for the Project Search program at UConn Health. I work for the ARC of Farmington Valley in Canton. Our program, as Brian has mentioned, has been around. We've completed 8 years, so we're in our 9th year. We have graduated over 60 individuals, and I'm going to brag a little bit. Our program's success rate is at about 98% placement at the end of our program. So there has been 2 individuals, including one in this previous year that we haven't reported on yet, that haven't found employment. We found that group supported employment was just a better option for them through the program. But 98% majority of the individuals who have come through our program has found independent employment in a job that they really like or love. We've been at UConn for the whole time. We are looking to open a second site, hopefully in the Bristol area. We're still looking for an employer for that. But at UConn, we have internships in a number of different departments. And as Brian kind of mentioned, there's some departments that are a little more intricate. So for example, one of our internships is the pharmacy department. That is an internship that I will never place someone in first rotation. So I have some like first rotation internships, then I have second and third internships. So pharmacy department, the interns that intern there actually end up with a pharmacy technician's license. They pay the $100 to the state to get registered. They have their basic pharmacy technician's license. And I've had 2 individuals get placed at a CVS pharmacy working in the pharmacy department, one of which has actually went on to get his PTCB, which is the big certification. It's a huge exam. And he spent months studying for it, and he passed it. I think it only took him 1 or 2 times to pass it, and he passed. And so we're very excited about it. And he actually checked in the other day. He started giving vaccines out. So we're very proud of him. We have internships in typical departments like food service, housekeeping. We work in linen department, the warehouse, the mail room, central receiving, delivering packages all over UConn Health. We are in the central sterile supply department, working on the peel packs and things like that for all the different departments. We are in dental finance, the dental clinic. We recently added an internship in psychiatry. We're also in dermatology, pulmonology. So as you can see, there's a wide variety of internships and individual interests. We also like to add internships to meet individual needs. So if an individual has an internship specifically in, say, daycare, I had someone ask me about that today. We used to have an internship in daycare because someone was interested, and then the daycare was supposed to get shut down and we kind of stopped going there. But if this intern ends up coming to us, we'll end up redeveloping that for them. So it's what I love about Project Search is there's a general way of doing it. There's the Project Search way, but it's very individualized. You have that freedom and the fluidity to be able to customize your curriculum, how you're doing the internships, how often the interns get seen. There's the basics, and then you can individualize it to every intern. So Brett was an intern who graduated in this past year's group. He's absolutely wonderful person. You'll see that in a few minutes. He is such a hard worker, loves coming to work every day. As you can tell, he was very excited to be here with you, all of you, and he went to work today. And I was very proud of him. He will also share some fun facts about the slide at the end of his video. So I will pass it over to him, and I'm available if anyone has any questions.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. Just a little point of reference. So Brett is a CODA. He's a child of a deaf adult. which is why signing helped him with the mail codes. And if you've ever been to Yukon Health, he delivers probably half of the departments he had to deliver to. So he had to learn all of those mail codes. So you know how big the main building is, he delivers to half of them. So that's why it was a very challenging thing for him. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you, Sandy. And I appreciate you being flexible and getting the video done, because I really think it makes an impact getting to hear his voice. I just wanted to thank you again for coming out and sharing your about your program, about Brett. Thank you so much.
And just a special thanks to all of our participants, Darlene and Futures, Edwin, Bree, Brent, Brett, and Sandy. Thank you so much for sharing your inspirational stories with us today. And now we're just going to move right to questions. I know that, you know, we're close to the end, so hopefully we can stay on a few extra minutes if possible.
Kyle, how do you want to handle questions today?
Thank you, Commissioner. I can read them from the chat very briefly. I'm just scrolling back up to where we had a few questions I believe were unanswered from earlier in the PowerPoint.
So I think one question that appeared a couple different ways, and Brian, I think you're probably the right guy to answer it, is with regards to entry-level age for project search. Is that I think people are curious, is that you have to come right out of high school, or are people who are already in other services and maybe a little older than that high school transition age able to participate in the program?
Sure. So like I had mentioned, it's certainly an option for folks who are, or I would say students actually, who are still in transition school programs. So if you're still receiving services from your school district and you're in that 18 to 20, I'll say 23 now, age frame, your school districts can refer to Project Search. That's an avenue for you. A good thing about Connecticut is that DDS has really embraced Project Search. And so folks that are transitioning from the school world of the school world into the DDS adult orbit, that's still a pathway. So if you're transitioning into DDS and you have interest in Project Search, that's something that can happen. That's a team decision that, the individual decision that if they're interested in Project Search, certainly you could get that service through DDS. Yep.
But if you're 35 years old, you've been doing GSE for a little while and it hasn't really helped. They've done some job development.
Got it. Yeah. It's
Brian,
what was that?
Could I add on?
Sure.
So I actually had an individual come through my program 2 years ago who was 40. So to answer your question, what we look at when we have an older individual, at least my program, is why now? Do they have the skills now that they didn't have when they were younger to be able to be independent? So that's kind of what we think about. Is it the right move for them, or is staying where they are the best thing for them? Most of the time it's not. We all want to grow, which is why we took on that one individual, and he was great. He went through the program. He knew, in advance he was going to be significantly older than the rest of the interns, but it worked. I think there's not really an age cap.
Yeah, there is no age cap. And I've seen when talking with different programs, sometimes it comes down to the cohort. They really they go through lengths to see if it is a right fit for that particular cohort. I was just talking with case managers this morning, and I was saying, there isn't, like you said, there isn't a set age. It's designed for that younger population, but it's not a set rule. And if you have an interest in Project Search, you should reach out to the programs because it's not a hard no. And so, like as Sandy mentioned, there was an opportunity for somebody who, I'd hate to say 35 is old, but for somebody who's who might be a little bit beyond what the normal scope of interns would look like, they were able to work with it. So I wouldn't, if somebody is, a little bit beyond what typical interns would be imagined as, they should still reach out. They should just reach out to the program director.
working with Kyle, going back through the chat. While I have a minute, Kyle, were there any other immediate questions?
Yeah, we had one from earlier in the presentation, Commissioner. Can a provider apply for an IEO grant if a DSO is looking to start a small business with the individuals it supports?
So the Innovation Employment Opportunity Grants is, I believe, the acronym that they were tackling for us there. And I'm not, I don't know if anyone from the EDS program has a response or if it's one we need to circle around on.
I think we're, and we've gone round and round on this. I think where it gets a little particular is if a DSO is looking to find funds for something that would be across for like if funds that would be used towards the DSO, it's difficult to imagine that being part of the innovative employment opportunity. Folks like what Darlene did with Futures was the funds were specifically awarded to those individuals who happen to be receiving services through through Futures. So it's nuanced, but it's significant
Yeah.
in terms of
Yeah, I think one of the things we'd be looking for is that whatever the business endeavor was owned by the individuals or by a corporation and not by the provider agency. I think that's a distinguishing element in your application in those grants, is helping somebody start a business or helping a group start a business is something we'd be more inclined to fund than funding agencies to create in-house businesses for people with intellectual disability to participate in. And if you have questions around that, it's a subtle difference, but it's meaningful both in the eyes of the Center for Medicaid Services and consistent with our mission. And Kyle, you said there's one more question?
The only other question I saw, I believe that wasn't answered, was talking about what the difference is between CE and the CT-PI program.
And I don't mind jumping on that really quick.
Thank you, Trevor.
Sure. So CT-PI is Connecticut Pathways to Integrated Employment. It's a really cool acronym. It is a BRS, so ADS BRS initiative that helps eligible youth and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities find employment. And they're working side by side with all different partners, including DDS. And how they're doing it is they got a federal grant dollars to do this. The goal is to transition and create pathways to competitive integrated employment for individuals who are in or are considering sub-minimum wages. Customized employment is a service that might help an individual transition that way. And individuals in CT-PI can do customized employment because customized employment is an interagency service. So if you have a relationship with DDS, with ADS, or with both agencies, you are eligible to try and work in customized employment. And I'm going to put in the chat just a little bit more.
You accidentally muted yourself, Trevor, but we think we got it. You're going to drop some more in the chat in case people want to understand, read more about it.
With some links. Thank you.
You got it. So listen, we're up against 4:30. If there are questions that are in the chat now, or you have questions afterwards, please email Kyle Fishbein, and he will make sure you get an answer or route you to the person who can get an answer. I want to thank everybody who participated today, our presenters, our staff. A little shout out to Bree, who said she was a good advocate. It's probably 8 or 10 years ago that I was doing my tour around the state, and she came to a staff meeting in Waterbury and took the time to introduce herself and advocate for herself. And I think that stepping up and asking for what she needed at that time in her life has really made a big difference since then. And I was a very small part of that, largely on your shoulders, Bree, for stepping up and speaking up. So good for you. And I'm glad to hear all the successes you've had. Been watching from a distance, but I haven't got a chance to visit with you in far too long, since before COVID.
Thank you, Jordan. It was all you that did it.
Oh, you had to use all. We'll trade those jabs another day, but good for you. I'm glad things are going well. Congratulations on your medal. To all our presenters, to all the jobs and accomplishments so far. from the program staff, from other agencies at Project Search and other places. We thank you. These Fourth Tuesday forums are recorded and posted. If you have staff, if you have friends, if there are individuals who who you think might benefit from seeing a different perspective on employment, steer them towards this one, steer them towards that page for all the other Fourth Tuesday forums that Elisa has led and facilitated that have all just been so well attended and meaningful. And with that, I won't probably see most of you before. I wish you a happy holiday season and a good rest of your evening. And thanks again for joining us.